Welcome back. For our top international story this hour, we reflect on 17 years of the war on Afghanistan, which began on this date in 2001. Today, protesters took to the White House demanding President Trump withdraw all U.S. troops and any U.S. presence from the country immediately. RT correspondent Ashlee Banks attended the protest. Take a look.
I'm here at the White House, where several have gathered to protest against the U.S. war in Afghanistan. Some here today say it's been 17 years. It's time to make an exit and to remove all U.S. troops from the country. I spoke to a few protesters and asked them why do they think we have yet to make an exit from Afghanistan.
We haven't left Afghanistan because politicians are stubborn. They're just stubborn. They are unwilling to admit that they have been defeated, as the Soviets were. We're twice as stupid as the Russians for having gone in there to start with. I mean, they lasted 9 years. Now we're so stupid, we're in there for 18 years.
And so it grinds on. One of the generals that just left there was asked, why are we there? And he said, we're still there because we're there.
It's something back in 1961 that President Eisenhower warned about when he left office. His famous speech where he coined the words the military-industrial complex, where he said that with so much money in weapons manufacturing that the time would not be far off that we would not be manufacturing weapons to fight wars, but we'd be manufacturing wars to manufacture weapons.
To date, over 20,000 people have signed a petition to President Donald Trump demanding he end the U.S. war in Afghanistan. Citing Trump's tweet in 2013 that said, "Let's get out of Afghanistan. Our troops are being killed by the Afghanis we train and we waste billions there." Nonsense. Rebuild the USA. I spoke to a few people and asked them about Trump's remarks 5 years ago.
Well, there's not much I agree with President Trump on, but I agree with that tweet that he said 5 years ago that the U.S. needs to get out of Afghanistan. I myself was part of the small team that reopened the embassy in Afghanistan in 2001. That was, 18 years ago, really. And at that time, we said the U.S., the ability of the U.S. to do much at all for the social justice issues of Afghanistan is limited by the history of what we know empires have done in that country.
They still want to have access to Afghan resources and pipelines going through Afghanistan because the military-industrial complex needs endless war to keep feeding itself and making money.
A year ago in August, Trump announced that he had thought it over, and he's a big enough man to admit his mistakes, and said that that we are going to stay in Afghanistan. In fact, the war was going to be accelerated. And the media at the time, The Hill had a beautiful piece saying, at last he's acting presidential.
In Washington, Ashlee Banks, RT.
With Afghanistan in question, we turn to an organizer with that march, the Say No to War in Afghanistan. It was put together, and you saw it earlier today in Ashlee's report. So, we're turning to Hoor Arifi. Right off the bat, 17 years into this war, what is the current state of Afghanistan? Did the United States bring freedom and democracy to your people as we promised? I mean, you just came from the country about 2 weeks ago.
Right. Well, first of all, I have to say that we are getting close to 18 years of U.S. and NATO wars in Afghanistan. So it's almost 18 years. And then I think if we read Afghanistan from 2001, there hasn't been the democracy ever since. And I think that despite of the fact that NATO has fought the wars in Afghanistan, the country has got into so much problems and critical issues that there is no other solution now, and things has got more complicated. And the country today, Afghanistan, is encountering with huge terrorism, from the rebellious groups, and then the corruption and then human rights violation has been increased. And then the status currently in the country, so there has been report by the United Nations recently that the civilian casualties are increasing in Afghanistan, which is 52% increase. And then it's a very tremendous situation for all people who are stuck in wars in Afghanistan. And then for past 1 month, Afghanistan is experiencing severely bomb attacks inside its capital, Kabul.
Yes, and these reports are often just blips on the mainstream media's radar. The United States invaded Afghanistan in 2001 in order to remove the Taliban government from power. 17 years in, is the Taliban stronger or weaker than when the United States intervened?
Unsurprisingly, it is stronger than ever. So according to the news from BBC today, 72% of Afghanistan territories are controlled by the Taliban, which is more than half of the country. And the sad reality is the people who are now more in the position of powers in Afghanistan. So the government has given them to get involved a lot of warlords now in the country. And then we cannot deny the fact since Afghanistan is ruled by mono-ethnic policies. So, and a lot of extremist groups are at the north part of Afghanistan. And then it's been like 50 countries who are waging and fueling this war. And then weapons are given like and supported by a lot of the men who are in the position of power.
And just very briefly, the Taliban attended peace talks held in Moscow this past August. What do you see as the most reasonable outcome of these negotiations so that Afghans may finally experience peace?
Amid all the despair among the young people and Afghan people itself, I feel a bit hopeful now. Since the new election is underway, and I hope that the international communities, like, they would talk for bringing a genuine peace in Afghanistan with involving more locals in this process. And I think that's something that the United Nations and the international communities had to done it in 2001, but sadly they didn't, and then Afghanistan has been paying a very deadly cost for this intervention and war. And then I hope that this negotiation would restore a genuine peace in Afghanistan.
Yes, I assume you believe a solution is going to come from diplomacy rather than continuing this war for another few years. We hope we see an end to it soon. Hoor Arifi, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.